Fast forward, ini como Turning so age politics abedin. Oni a podcast story se train me make headlines. Ena ye jemre ne yidi bi exomo. Eni di mi ahobrak semo. Oni a yanko ye discussion ni. Yana political highways no eja dema enye asem kwoto akra. Na ye bawura ma sisia Chief Justice Honsema ebeto dwa e organ hasia. Eye MPP ene NDC etwi hontonto. Eje ku eje bu CCR no bafu money yetimi approve no se ono ene ye the Chief Justice of Ghana umpo ono ene the Chief Justice of Ghana na ebusa se Torkonoo, what is the next line of action with regards to ongoing cases court cases ebi ECOWAS court ebi ewo Accra High Court. Efasa Chief Justice Hunsen ya. Now, Nadia enka Torkonoo penise enka yibo hold on with the vetting and the approving process no. Nenka ECOWAS aka no ewi. Nenka court Ghana court so aka asem na ewi. Anko banisa. CCR no asem no court yen kan wi na emum no. Ye approve no say ono ne ye the Chief Justice of Ghana ye bafu boni. Now Torkonoo de no be ye one MPP minority a dear body pa what is the next line of action? Paul Addo of Metro TV anu ye ni nyina wo de mayen o dwumade yi so at this point in time memungrom ye hwe ne yeko ene de ba
out short one, Chief Justice, or is it former Chief Justice? Okay, former Justice Torkonoo, Speaker Bagbin, and then Justice Paul Bafuboni, who we understand might be sworn in tomorrow as the next Chief Justice. But there's a problem, isn't there? There's a real problem here in Ghana when we come to talk about Chief Justice. Speaker Bagbin may have been right when he confronted the minorities' proposition that the vetting of Mr. Justice Paul Bafuboni should be put on hold until such time that the matters, maybe you should have added Afenyo Markin's photograph, until such time that the matters being discussed in the court, and there are about 5 matters in there. There are 4 matters before the Supreme Court asking for interpretation of this and that. There are 2 matters before the High Court that makes it 6. Then there's one at the ECOWAS court. Okay. Some people may say it's much ado about nothing and that the woman should stop. And I've seen people like the Honorable Atta Kennedy advise Torkonoo and say it's okay, go. I don't think Torkonoo is doing this for herself. She's doing this to set things straight for the future because we're building a democracy. J.H. Mensah went to court in the famous case of the J.H. Mensah and the Attorney General, not for himself, but to demonstrate that when a president has finished his term and he is fortunate to win another term, the ministers that were with him in his first term cannot be said to continue to hold office in the second term. That's why J.H. Mensah took out a writ and went to the Supreme Court in 1997. It wasn't about himself. Today, J.H. Mensah is dead. But we will keep referring to the case of J.H. Mensah and the Attorney General to guide us in the way in which we build our democracy. So those who are accusing Torkonoo that this and that, no, that's not what she's doing. She's trying to tell us that something significant has happened that has turned the head of the law upside down. That's what Justice Torkonoo is saying. She's not saying that I think the judiciary is for me, so I'm coming, the judiciary is for me. No, she's not saying the judiciary is for her. She's saying that something significant has happened that has upside down turned our judiciary. And if we don't check it, it will come to haunt all of us. Viewers, these are very important matters. The people who promulgated the law on causing financial loss to the state in 1999, they were told that this obnoxious law and this, difficult to define law that you are bringing to Parliament to pass because you are looking for J. Akuffo and Osafo Maafo, because you want to catch J. Akuffo for his involvement in the bank matters in Bank for Housing and Construction, and you want to catch Osafo Maafo, who was managing director of the bank. Be careful. Those people who prosecuted the law, they went to jail on causing financial loss to the state. So that is how we run a democracy. Let us always be careful to think that it may be on this foot today, but it can always shift onto the other foot tomorrow. You saw what the minority were saying in Parliament yesterday. A document came to Parliament yesterday for the approval of a lithium agreement. And Alexander Markin, the chairman, the leader of the minority, was telling the majority that this is the same law, the same agreement that we brought to you. And the NDC said they wouldn't do it. Today, the NDC have brought the same law to Parliament. Now, Ghana is getting less money. The lithium agreement that the MPP brought to Parliament, Ghana was getting more money. The same lithium agreement has come to Parliament yesterday. Ghana is getting less money. We were in this, I was going to say Parliament because I was there this evening. We were in this Ghana when Akuffo's government brought something to Parliament asking for a tax rebate of 24 million for Dr. Nyantechi to go and build some infrastructure under one district, one factory. NDC said never, they will not agree. How can you say that somebody shouldn't pay tax because it's a Ghanaian business? This evening, less than 2 hours ago, Keselatu Forsen has brought something to Parliament that a business entity be allowed not to pay $10 million to the Ghanaian people. Yesterday, 5 Ghanaians died wanting to be soldiers. 6 Ghanaians died wanting to be soldiers. We are giving somebody who should have paid $10 million to Ghana government's Ghana Revenue Authority and the national checks, the national exchequer. We said that he shouldn't pay that money again anymore. He should take that money away. Is that how we do? That is why Justice Torkonoo is saying that. Let us be careful and look at these things properly. There's one of the Justice Torkonoo cases, for instance. There is Article 146, and it runs from, I think, 1461 to 1466. Article 146 is the impeachment of the Chief Justice and Supreme Court Justice. Article 146 is clear. It gives you a way to impeach or remove the Chief Justice. Then it prescribes an entirely different way to remove a Supreme Court judge. Justice Torkonoo says that you took me through Article 1466. That's 146 clause 6. That is a prescription and a direction for the removal of Chief Justice. I am a Supreme Court judge before I become a Chief Justice. Chief Justice is by appointment. Supreme Court judge is my level of justice work. You have removed me by Article 1466. Therefore, you have only removed me as Chief Justice. You cannot purport to use Article 1466 to remove me as a Supreme Court judge, because the removal of a Supreme Court judge is clearly prescribed and defined in Article 1463. That matter is lying before the Supreme Court. Hear it, Supreme Court hasn't heard it. Maybe they will hear it. I'm sure they will hear it, but we don't know when. These are the things that Alex Markin was saying, that can we resolve these matters in the interest of clarity of the law and the application thereof before we come to appoint a new Chief Justice? That's all that Alex Markin was asking for. Can we hear these matters? These are matters that are germane. They are fundamental to the operation of our law under a constitution approved by the people of Ghana in April 1992 by a referendum. And that we need, as of necessity, to hear these matters. Speaker Bagbin is right. He says, well, Parliament has a job to do. We have to vet the nominee of the president. By vetting him, we have not appointed him as Chief Justice. So we will proceed with the vetting. I agree with that. I think many people agree with that. But now, Parliament has finished his work. His Excellency, the President, now has the duty to appoint a new Chief Justice. Should John Dramani Mahama proceed to appoint a new Chief Justice without these matters having been ventilated by the highest court of the land? Should he? Well, if we chant the answer in political tones, then everybody under the umbrella will say, yes, he should. And other people will say, no, he shouldn't. But should it be the umbrella or the elephant that controls our democratic existence? No, it should be the law, the 1992 Constitution. That's what governs our democratic existence. So the point I'm bringing to you, just a short one, I'm done, is that let's not perceive Justice Torkonoo's pursuit of these matters as claiming to own the judicial chair of the Chief Justice, that when she was giving birth to, it was for her. or that when she finished Faculty of Law, she was told that you will own the Chief Justice chair, you can take it home. No, that's not what she's saying. She finds herself in a situation that she needs to do service to the people of Ghana by going to the court to ask them these questions for tomorrow. The minority leader of the day, Joseph Henry Mensah, was in Parliament one day when a list came from the Speaker that this is a list of the ministers that the President wants to continue with them. J.H. Mensah called his lawyer Akuffo and said, Nanado, is this something that we can do? Speaker says that a list has come from the President that the people are called retained ministers. Is there something like retained ministers in the Constitution? Nana Akufo-Addo said, no, there's nothing like that. The NDC said there's something. I said, no, let's go to the Supreme Court. They went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court determined that every minister's tenure ends with the president. And that when the president goes to an election and he's re-elected, the ministers must come through vetting again. And that's what we have used since then. That is why Ghana's democracy has been admired. That is why in the book that I wrote, I talked about the Supreme Court as being the backbone of Ghana's constitutional existence. Without the Supreme Court, we won't be here. It's the same thing Justice Torkonoo is doing. She's a Chief Justice. She's been told that an impeachment has come against her, pursuant to Article 1466. She goes through the process. She's very unhappy about many things in the process. Nonetheless, they remove her. She doesn't see the prima facie, the warrant of removal. She thinks is wrong, etc., etc. She says, okay, you've removed you as Chief Justice. I'm going back to the court. They say, hey, no, you can't come. We have removed you as both. When the Constitution prescribes how you remove a Supreme Court judge, different and distinguished from how you remove a Chief Justice, is that how we want to run our republic? Answer the question yourself, viewers. Answer the question yourself. Now, I have to move on. Let's get on to the military conversation right now. Okay, viewers, very simple before I go to Team Fojo. I'm doing this as a matter of emotional passion. So don't blame me when I get very emotional. Because I'm soldier. Yeah, I'm soldier. I grew up in Burma camp all my life. And I've seen something that is terribly dangerous. It is so dangerous. If we are not careful, we are losing our armed forces. This is the diagram that I put together. It's called the civilization of the military. In the days when I lived in Burma camp, this is the Ghana Armed Forces. The Ghana Armed Forces inside the barracks had its own schools. I attended one of them. Great school. It had its own market. I've been there so many times. They call it soldier market. And there's everything there. There is nane. Do you know nane? Nane is the pig's feet, the one they can use for jollof. It can be very nice. They sell nane at the Burma camp market. There's shop. It's called Gaffy. It's like Maxmart or those departmental kind of shops. It's there. It's right there in Burma camp. Subsidized. And there's hospital. I'll show you some of the photographs. So I lived in Burma Villas, number 27 Burma Villas. I'll never forget. My telephone number was 3304. Now 27 Burma Villas, okay. From number 27 Burma Villas to the school I attended called Garrison Primary School, it's a walking distance. It's 5-6 minutes walk. When my father, who was a soldier, wakes up in the morning and he's preparing his stuff, he doesn't think about how I will go to school. It's not part of his thinking. I will just walk to school. He knows that I will. If I am ready when he's ready, he just might drop me in front of the school and then he will continue to his office. When I'm standing in my school, I can see my father's office. When my father is in his office, he can see the school. When I move a little bit away from the school, I can see my house. It was the same for all my friends. We're all like that. Those of you who live in Burma Villas, you go to Garrison Primary or Kotoka Primary. And then those who live in Labadi Villas will go to Services Primary. Those who live in Arakan will go to Forces Primary. Those who live in Air Force will go to Air Force Primary. And the schools were so good that we could come out of these schools and go to Presec and compete with the people who went to Morningstar and all of these that are bad schools. We could do that because the soldiers made sure that the school was good. Today, it's not the same. Colleagues of mine that I went to Garrison Primary with who have become military officers, some of my colleagues are brigadier generals right now. I don't want to mention their names. They can't take their children to the same schools that we went to. They have to take their children to the civilian school that's more expensive. And that's where we are losing our military. The hospital was there. Let me show you some of the photographs. Okay. So, these are the schools. Okay. That's the entrance to my school, Garrison Primary School. It's still there. P.O. Box 243, Burma Camp Accra. This is the entrance. You can't see the school well, but it's nicer than this. But, this is the entrance. This is Garrison Primary School, where I studied. Then this is Services Primary School, where my younger sister studied. This is Services Primary School. It's there. And then this is Air Force Base Primary School. This is it. It's still there. It's there. This is Douala Hospital. Now, this Douala Hospital, many of you don't know it. You know 37. No, 37 is tertiary. Douala Hospital was the hospital that when we get malaria, we are sick, and they take us to Douala. It's inside Burma camp. You don't see it. So the soldiers had a way of working that they don't need to spend like the civilians. They have a shop, they have a market. But today, Garrison Primary School is not functioning the same way it's functioning. It used to function. If I am an army officer today of the rank of colonel, like my colleagues in the Burma camp, they don't take their children to Services Primary School anymore because Services Primary School can no longer compete with Morning Star, it cannot compete with Soul Clinic, and it cannot compete with Richard School. We used to compete with them. So good was the competition. I'll show you something else. Here, this is Christ the King School. We could compete with them and even beat them. We go to Presec with them. We go to St. Augustine's. Many other people went to Garrison Primary School. Are scientists. They are doctors in America. They are all over the place. Even beauty pageants. Girls from Burma camp were winning Miss Ghana. Should I mention their names? Maybe they don't want me to mention their names. But girls we grew up with were winning Miss Ghana. They go from Services Primary School. They are in Wesley Girls. They are in St. Rosie's. They are in Holy Child. They are going to University of Ghana. They win Miss Ghana. That is how Burma camp was. Today, it's not like that anymore. The soldier must take his child to Christ the King and take his child to Morning Star and go and pay hefty fees to reach the school. I had a teacher who taught me, who used to live with us. He's called Mr. Afenyo. I'm sure he doesn't mind me mentioning his name. Mr. Afenyo today teaches at Morning Star School. Many years ago, he called me. He said he saw me on TV. He was very excited, asking where's my mother, blah, blah, blah. And they always ask that question. Mr. Afenyo teaches at Morning Star School. Mr. Afenyo. Mr. Asante, who was my teacher in primary school, today is teaching at Christ the King. Why can't Mr. Asante continue to teach at Garrison the way he taught? He was a great teacher. He's still a fantastic teacher. He's teaching at Christ. He's now teaching at Christ the King. I see him and I said, Mr. Asante, where are you? So I'm in Christ the King. He couldn't, the Burma camp could not hold him. There's something that is getting wrong with our military, and we must look at it carefully. Otherwise, we are losing the military. If we make the military civilian, when I was a kid growing up, you don't see soldiers in town sitting in trotro. No way. No way. That should never happen. A soldier, then he's at 37, then the trotro has come, then he's wearing camouflage. I look at the thing and I'm mortified. What is this? Where did our military go? What has happened to the... That's why sometimes I miss J.J. Rawlings. What has happened to the military? Military people come to Burma camp, they take off their clothes and they come to the civilian. If you see soldiers in town, they are waiting for a military truck that will pick all of them and go. So they don't join, they look at the trotro, they don't join it. If there's a quarrel, they can settle it. They are not interested in the trotro. A military truck will come and pick them. How much does it cost? How much does it cost? We really need to make sure that our military is going back to the days where it was an independent military. It doesn't have to come to town to come and get bread and come to Maxmart, and the market in Burma camp doesn't have this, so they are coming to town. The schools are not good, so they are coming to town. The Douala Hospital doesn't have malaria pills, so they are coming to town. Soldiers should not need to come to town. So good were the schools in Burma camp that high-profile government officials brought their children there. And I can say this because their children were in my class. Justice D.F. Annan. He was the number 2 person in the PNDC. Justice Annan brought his children to Garrison Primary School. I think they were in Morning Star or something like that. Because Garrison Primary School was as good as Morning Star. It was as good as Christ the King. It was as good as Richard. So Justice Annan brought his children there. Miss Joyce Ayi brought her son to Burma Camp Secondary School. Alhaji Mumuni Bawumia, he brought his son to Burma Camp School. His name is Yakubu Bawumia. These days they call him Jake. I sat in the same classroom with Yakubu Bawumia. His father was Mumuni Bawumia. My father was Major Archery. It didn't matter because Garrison Primary School was a very good school. Garrison Primary School is still there. The question, Sefakai was in Garrison Primary School. Patrick Ban, he's a scientist in America. He was in Garrison Primary School. Mensa Wood's children, they were in Garrison Primary School. Everybody was in services and Garrison and Forces and Air Force. Bridget Jugbenuku, she was in Forces Primary School. So what has happened is very, very dangerous and it's very, very serious if we don't retool our military so that the military forces can stay in Burma camp. Why is military recruiting and we can see it? Why should we see it? Military is recruiting at Elwak and we are all, hey, soldier. Why? Military is recruiting and it is in all of us, it's on our phones. Ghana has been embarrassed. The whole world. Everybody's asking. Military recruiting and it's a conversation. Everybody is seeing it. I don't even want people to know I'm being recruited in the military. So you see, they are standing in the queue. When you're looking at them, they turn. Have you noticed? When you're looking at them, they turn away. Military is recruiting. We are doing it in the heart of the capital. And we are kete. Everybody is there. Hey, just soldier. Military is a distinguished service. It's a distinguished career. We shouldn't know when military is recruiting. There should be some trucks that is driving them into Burma camp. They pick them from somewhere. They could have put all of them at the Legon Stadium. You know you are expecting 21,000 people. The team Forger will deal with those things. You know you're expecting 21,000 people. They could have put them at the Legon Stadium. Each day, 5,000. Drive them to Burma camp, to the Air Force Station. You can drive them to Military Academy, to the square, and put them there. So all we'll see is buses wheeling some people somewhere. What is military is recruiting and we are all inside. And people are filming and filming what? The DPR has a television setup. They should be the only people to film these things. Nobody should be allowed to bring mobile phone in there. This is about the military. It's not military for me, for you. It's Ghana Armed Forces. We should get serious in this country. Democracy doesn't mean we should undermine the military. It is key and critical that we get this thing right. I'll leave it here. Time is running. I'll leave it here. Let me go to the Reverend Team Forger. He has more information than I do on these matters. He's a ranking member for the Defense and Interior Committee, isn't it? Honorable, good evening.
Good evening, Paul.
How embarrassing was what happened yesterday?
No, truly embarrassing. Really sad day, Black Wednesday. I mean, in this modern day, how could recruitment into the military result in stampede, the soldiers we have military police who are trained to ensure that even in when civilians situations are getting out of hand, they keep it under control. But here we are, 6 young ladies haven't died. But it tells a lot.
Ladies, that makes it more tragic.
Very vulnerable. Ladies are very vulnerable.
They were stepping on them?
They were stepping on them.
My goodness.
Some fell down. This morning when we visited the Committee on Defense and Interior, myself, the chairman, Honorable Agaga, we went to 37 Military Hospital. You would be so sad to see the victims, boys, young men, young ladies. And there were even 5 who were in ICU. And by the nature of their condition, we didn't even want to get there for cameras to capture them, fighting for their lives. This is a reflection of a deep leadership crisis within the defense system in this country. And I agree with you.
We ain't Samaro Timmy Coso, our channel, so Mamma so Jim Ewahara, and so body, Eddie Adumbi Adumiani. It was Sambo room. Na Yasmo Kwanson Kusokra.